She didn't say, please. She didn't say, would you consider? She said, we need. And, by Tuesday morning, the locked box at First National was open, and not a dollar was going where she had decided it would. Here is what actually happened. My name is Margaret. I am 70 years old. My husband Bennett died in 2019. He and I were two school teachers who saved quietly for 41 years. $412,000. That's what was in the account on the Sunday afternoon. My daughter Lydia sat across from me at my own kitchen table and said the words that started this story. She was eating a slice of the lemon cake I had made the day before. She was 6 months pregnant. Her hand was on her belly. And she said it the way a person says something they have rehearsed in the car on the way over. Mom, we need your savings for the baby. I set down my coffee cup. I want to tell you something honestly before I go any further. If your daughter sat across from you in your own kitchen 6 months pregnant, eating your cake, looking at you with eyes she had inherited from your dead husband and asked for your life savings, would you have said no in that moment? Or would you have smiled, said, let me think about it, and told yourself you would handle it later? I have asked myself that question for 2 years. I am going to tell you what I did, and I am going to tell you why I did not, in fact, handle it later. The Sunday coffee was not the first thing. The Sunday coffee was the last thing in a line of small things that had been arriving for 2 years. In the fall of 2023, Lydia had brought Conrad, her husband, to dinner. Halfway through, Conrad had asked me what Bennett had left behind, mostly. Lydia had laughed and changed the subject, but she had not changed it fast enough. In the spring of 2024, Lydia had called me on a Tuesday. She had asked, in a careful voice, how much I had in the joint account. I had reminded her the account was no longer joint. It had been mine alone since Bennett died. She had said, oh, right. Sorry, Mom. I keep forgetting, in the tone women use when they have not, in fact, forgotten. In September of 2024, at her own house, 3 months pregnant, she had asked me, with her hand resting on her belly, whether I had considered what it would mean to be able to help the baby get a real start. I had said I would think about it. I had not thought about it. I had simply not raised the topic again. I had laughed each time. I had laughed because the alternative was to call my daughter what the evidence said she was, and I was not ready. There comes a moment when a mother runs out of things to change the subject to. I ran out on Sunday at 2:17 p.m. But here is the part I want you to understand. Lydia did not start the Sunday conversation with "we need." That was not the first sentence. The first sentence was, Mom, the baby kicked this morning. The doctor said her foot is the size of a strawberry. She had said it with the look on her face that I remembered from when she was 4 years old and had brought me a dandelion from the yard. Open, wondering. The face of a daughter, not a strategist. We had talked about the baby for 40 minutes. Lydia had laughed twice. She had cried once gently, the way pregnant women cry, without warning, without explanation. She had told me the baby's name was going to be Eloise. She had said, Mom, I want her to know you. I want her to know who you were before you were a grandmother. I had teared up. I had said, Sweetheart, she will. And that was when Lydia had set down her fork, paused for a long moment, and said the sentence she had come over to say. Mom, we need your savings for the baby. It was not the sentence of a corporate strategist. It was the sentence of a woman who had been rehearsing in her car for 40 minutes about a baby named Eloise, and who had finally found a way to make the request feel as if it were emerging from love. That is what made it hard. That is what I want you to understand. She was not a villain. She was not coldly manipulative. She was my daughter, and she had convinced herself somewhere in the last 2 years, somewhere in the careful conversations with Conrad over their dinners, that she had a moral case for the money. That love and need had become the same word. I noticed her hands trembling when she said it. I noticed she could not look at me when she finished. Manipulation, I have learned, is not always cold. Sometimes it is hot. Sometimes it has been rehearsed by someone who believes the rehearsal is sincere. I smiled at her. I refilled her coffee. I said, "Sweetheart, let me think about it. I'll call you Monday morning." She kissed me on the cheek before she left. She told me she loved me. I closed the door behind her at 2:43 p.m. I sat in my kitchen for a long time. Then I picked up the phone. I called my lawyer. Her name was Cordelia. She had drafted my will after Bennett died. "Margaret." "Cordelia, I'm sorry to call on a Sunday." "What happened?" I told her. I kept it short. Lydia, the Sunday coffee, the 2 years of small requests, the Monday bank appointment. When I finished, she was quiet. Then she said, "Margaret, the safe deposit box." I held the phone tighter. "What about it?" Bennett restructured the account in 2017. He took it out of joint ownership. He put it in a single signature revocable trust. Lydia cannot access it. She cannot inquire about the balance. The only way she gets $1 is if you walk into the bank and tell them to give it to her. There is no other door. I closed my eyes. "Cordelia." "Yes. He did this in 2017. He came to my office in April. He said, and I'm quoting, 'I'm worried this could happen one day. I don't know that it will. But I'd like Margaret to have the option of saying no without having to fight for the option. Margaret, I think you should go to the bank Tuesday morning. Without her, open the box. Bennett left you something inside. Do you know what it is?" A pause. "No, he didn't tell me." "Cordelia." "Yes. Did he tell anyone?" "He told the bank manager, Raphael, that I should expect a call from you on a Sunday someday. He told Raphael to be ready to walk you into the vault on the Monday or Tuesday after the call. That's the full extent of what I know." I was quiet for a moment. He worried. He worried, Margaret. He didn't know. He worried. I think that is the sentence that made me trust the whole plan. Because the truth is, and I want to be honest about this, Bennett was not a mastermind. He was a chemistry teacher who had loved me for 41 years, and who had watched our daughter marry a man who asked too many questions about our retirement at the dinner table. He had not predicted anything. He had simply worried, the way a husband worries, and had spent $1,800 in legal fees in a quiet week in 2017 to give me a door I might never need. Most days, the door would have stayed shut. He had known that. Today, the door was opening. I called Lydia on Monday morning. "Mom!" "Sweetheart, I'm going to need an extra day. Can we move our talk from this morning to Tuesday at 1 p.m? Come to my house. I'll make soup." A small pause. "Mom, are you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart. I just want to think clearly." "Okay. Tuesday at 1. We hung up. 2 hours later, and this is the part I did not expect, my phone rang again. It was Conrad. I almost did not pick up. Conrad and I had spoken on the phone maybe 4 times since he had married my daughter. He used a voice that was warmer than usual. "Margaret, I hope I'm not interrupting. Listen, Lydia mentioned the Tuesday meeting got moved. I just wanted to call and say, I want you to know that whatever you and Lydia decide is fine with me. I'm not pushing for anything. I want you to know that." I noted that he had called to tell me he was not pushing for anything. I noted that the call itself was the push. "Conrad, thank you for letting me know. Margaret, listen, Lydia gets emotional about this stuff. Pregnancy. You know how it is. I just want to make sure you know that whatever the conversation is, I'm not behind it. It's her thing." I let that sentence sit on the line for a moment. A man who calls his mother-in-law to clarify that he is not behind something is a man who is behind it. Conrad. "Yes. Have you and Lydia already begun making decisions based on the assumption that the savings will be available?" A small pause. "Margaret, no, of course not." "Conrad, I will see you eventually. Take care of my daughter." I hung up. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time. Then I opened the small drawer where I kept my address book, and I wrote one line on the back of an old grocery receipt. Conrad called Monday afternoon. Prepositioning, they have made decisions. I folded the receipt and put it in my purse. I would learn on Tuesday that I had been right. I arrived at First National at 8:54 a.m. on Tuesday morning. I waited in my car for 6 minutes. My hands were folded in my lap. I could feel my heart beating against my blouse. I was nervous. I want to tell you that. I want to tell you because the script I had been following in my head all morning had been Bennett's script, calm, prepared, dignified. But the woman in the car was not Bennett's script. She was a 70-year-old widow about to open a box her dead husband had left her, and her hands were not steady. I almost turned around. I almost called Lydia and said, "Sweetheart, never mind, come over now, let's just talk." I almost gave away $412,000 in a parking lot. I sat with that almost for the full 6 minutes. I let myself feel how easy yes would have been, how quiet, how loving, how much it would have made my Tuesday lunch with Lydia simpler. Then I thought of Conrad's phone call. Then I thought of foot the size of a strawberry, which is the kind of sentence you use to soften the request that follows it. Then I got out of the car. The assistant manager, Raphael, in his late 60s, thinning grey hair, saw me from across the lobby. "Mrs. Whitfield." "Raphael, you are here for the box." "I am." He led me through the small wooden gate. We went into the vault corridor. He used his master key. I used mine. The drawer slid out with the quiet, heavy weight of a thing that had not been opened in years. He carried the drawer to a small private viewing room. He set it on the table. "Mrs. Whitfield, take your time." He closed the door behind him. I sat alone with the drawer. I did not open it right away. I sat with my hand on the lid for a full minute. I let myself imagine, for the last time, what would happen if I simply did not open it. What if I just took the drawer back to Raphael, told him I had changed my mind, drove home, called Lydia, and gave her the money? What if love was the easier door? I lifted the lid. Inside were 3 things. A thick, legal envelope, a small wooden jewelry box, a folded sheet of paper. The envelope was labelled, in Bennett's handwriting, for Margaret read first. I picked it up. My hands were trembling now. I sat down in the small chair. I opened the envelope. The first page was a letter. "Margaret, if you're reading this, it means somebody asked you for something you didn't want to give, and you didn't know how to say no, and you came looking for help. I'm sorry I'm not there." I had to stop reading. I put the letter down on the table. I took off my glasses. I closed my eyes. I did not cry, but I came as close as I had come in 6 years. I picked the letter back up. "Here is the truth, Margaret. I don't know what is happening. I don't know who is asking or what they want. I am writing this in April of 2017, sitting in Cordelia's office, having paid her too much money to draft something I hope you will never need. I don't even know if I am right to be worried. Maybe Lydia and Conrad will be wonderful. Maybe I'm being unfair to them. But I have watched the way Conrad looks at our furniture, and I have heard the way Lydia talks about her friends' parents, about which ones helped and which ones didn't, and I have decided I would rather be wrong about them and have wasted $1,800 than be right about them and have left you without a door. Whatever they are asking for, the answer can be no. You don't have to explain. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to be reasonable. You are 70 years old or older by now, and the dignity of no is the inheritance I am most proud of leaving you. I love you, Bennett." I read the letter twice. Then I set it down very carefully. I noticed something I had not expected to notice. The letter had not been the speech of a mastermind. It had been the letter of a worried husband. He had not known. He had only worried. He had written, "Maybe I'm being unfair to them," because that was the actual state of his mind in April 2017. He had not been omniscient. He had been a husband. That mattered to me, in a way I cannot fully explain. I opened the small jewelry box. Inside, on dark blue velvet, was my mother's wedding ring. It had been missing for at least 10 years. I had thought I had lost it during one of our moves. I had grieved it quietly. There was a folded note tucked into the lid. Margaret, I took your mother's ring sometime around 2017. I did not tell you because I knew you would ask why. The reason is this. Your mother gave it to you on the day she died, and she said it was for whichever daughter earned it. I have been watching Lydia for a long time. I have not been certain, I have only been uncertain. I want you to decide. I trust you. B. I sat with the ring in my palm. I noticed, distantly, that my hands had finally stopped shaking. I closed the box. I opened the third item, the folded sheet. A single sentence. Margaret, whatever she is asking, the answer is no. You don't owe anyone a reason. B. I folded everything back into the drawer. I called Raphael in. He closed the box. He walked me out. At the lobby door, he turned to me. Mrs. Whitfield, Bennett asked me to tell you something on the day you came. I've been carrying it since 2017. Tell me, Raphael. He said, tell Margaret. She does not need permission from anyone, including from my memory, to spend her money however she chooses. I closed my eyes. I thanked him. I shook his hand. I walked out at 9:47 a. into the cool autumn sunlight. I drove home. Lydia arrived at 12:58 p.m. She was wearing the cream sweater she had told me the year before made her look too pale. She had worn it anyway. I noticed. She kissed me at the door. She sat at the kitchen table. I served soup. She did not eat. She stirred. She pushed the noodles around. She watched me. I let the silence sit for a moment. Then I said, Sweetheart, I went to the bank this morning. She looked up sharply. You, Mom, we were going to go together. I went alone. I opened the safe deposit box your father left me. Her hand went still on the spoon. Mum, why didn't you wait? Lydia, listen. The savings account is in a single signature trust your father set up in 2017. You cannot access it. You are not a signatory. The only way you receive $1 from it during my lifetime is if I walk into the bank and tell them to give it to you. She set down the spoon. I watched her face do something I have not often seen it do. She did not collapse. She did not cry. She got angry. Mom, are you serious right now? Are you telling me that Dad, of all people, was hiding money from his own daughter for 2 years before he died? He was not hiding it. He was protecting it. Protecting it from what, Mom? From me? I'm his daughter. I'm carrying his granddaughter. Do you understand what you are telling me? Do you understand what kind of message this sends to a pregnant woman? Her voice was rising. Her hand was on her belly. Mum, every single one of my friends with parents your age has been given help. Every single one. Tanya's mother bought them their first car. Bree's parents covered the IVF. Camille's mum is paying for daycare for the next 3 years. And you are sitting there telling me that you and Dad spent 5 years building a legal moat around the money you are not even spending. I let her finish. I let her go further. And the meeting, Mom. The meeting was just to look at the accounts, just to talk about it. And you went behind my back. You called your lawyer on a Sunday. You drove to the bank without telling me. You, Mum, you treated me like a threat. I'm not a threat. I'm your daughter. I waited. When she had finished, I said quietly, Lydia, are you done? She put her face in her hands. Mom. Lydia, I want you to do something for me. I want you to tell me, honestly, and look at me when you answer, whether you and Conrad have made any purchase decisions based on the assumption that this money would be available. She did not answer. Lydia. Mom. Look at me, sweetheart. She looked up. We put down a deposit on a new car last month. I sat very still. How much? 6,000. The full price is 48. Have you signed the loan? We were waiting to talk to you first. I closed my eyes. I did not move for a long time. Then I said, Lydia, Conrad called me yesterday afternoon. He told me he was not behind any of this. He told me it was your thing. I want you to know he made that call. I want you to know that your husband called your mother to pre-position himself out of a request he was, in fact, behind. I want you to think very carefully about who you have been negotiating with for the last 2 years. It has not been only me. Her face went the color of wet paper. He called you. He did. She put both hands on the table. She started to cry. Not the rehearsed tears of the Sunday coffee, the real ones. The ones that come up from a place that has just discovered something true about your own marriage in your mother's kitchen. I let her cry. After a while, I said, Lydia, here is what is going to happen. The car deposits $6,000 you are going to walk away from. You and Conrad will not buy that car. You will buy a used one, the way your father and I bought used ones for 30 years. The advantages you want to give Eloise, you and Conrad, will build them with your own hands and your own paychecks, the way your father and I built ours. You will not be subsidized by my account. Not for the medical bills, not for the daycare, not for the every advantage we can. The relationship between you and me is not over. It is being relocated. You and I will see each other for lunch on the first Sunday of every month. At my house, I will cook. Conrad will not come for the first 6 months. After that, we will see. Eloise is welcome at every meal for the rest of my life from the day she is born. She has done nothing wrong. She is starting her relationship with me from a clean place. She was nodding. Her hands were still on the table. Then I picked up the small wooden box I had been carrying in my cardigan pocket and set it on the table between us. I opened it. Lydia's eyes went wide. Mom, is that grandmother's ring? Your father took it in 2017. I learned this morning. Why? Why did he take it? Sweetheart, I am not going to tell you what he wrote about the ring. Some of his letters are for me. But I am going to tell you what I have decided. The ring will go to Eloise on the day she turns 21. It will skip your generation, not because you are unloved. Because your father, watching you and Conrad for 10 years, was not sure you had earned it, and I have decided to honor his uncertainty without sharing it with you in detail. You may, between now and the day Eloise turns 21, prove him wrong. I will be watching, and so will Cordelia, and so will Raphael at the bank. The decision is reversible. Today it stands. She nodded slowly. Mum, I am so sorry. Sweetheart, I know. We sat for a long time without speaking. She did eat the soup, eventually. It was cold by then, but she ate it. When she left at 3:14 p.m., she hugged me at the door longer than she had in years. She drove away. I closed the door. I sat in Bennett's reading chair in the living room. I did not turn on the lamp. I sat in the dim afternoon light for a long time. That night I wrote one line in the small notebook I had started keeping the morning after the Sunday coffee. My daughter said, "We need your savings for the baby." So I opened the safe deposit box without her. And I learned, at 70, that the most generous thing my husband ever did for me was not the 41 years he loved me face to face, but the few quiet hours in 2017 when he sat in a lawyer's office and worried about me, alone, without knowing if his worry would ever matter. Sometimes dignity does not arrive with shouting. Sometimes it arrives in a small wooden box, in a vault, on a Tuesday morning, in the handwriting of a man who has been gone for 6 years and who is still, somehow, leaving doors open behind him. Then I closed the notebook and I drank what was left of my tea, and I slept the way a woman sleeps when she has finally said no to her own daughter and discovered, on the other side of the word, that no had been waiting for her all along, in a box, in a bank, on a quiet street, with her name on the lid.